Welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Scare Scotland's own Stevie Douglas. In this part we're going to cover where Stevie got his love of horror from, and we're going to discuss his investigations into the paranormal. So you mentioned earlier Alien War.
Yeah.
What other projects did you do outside of Scare Scotland before you got started up in Scare Scotland?
Well, Alien War was one of them, where I played a character called Corporal Steele.
Yeah.
The character had basically Alien War was a show that started in 1992 that brought the Alien movies to life. And it was one of the first of its kind. I mean, it created an industry, you know.
I hear a lot of people talk about it.
Yeah, it's legendary, you know, and it was put together by two guys, one guy called Gary Gillis and John Gorman. They were sitting watching this movie and went, we can do that. And it took them a long time, but they got there, and, you know, and people still talk about it, like you say, you know, and it was successful. It had a successful run in London as well, where it was opened by Sigourney Weaver, and you know, they had her outside and they took her round it, and they'd all the cast and all that sort of. The Alien 3 was coming out at the time, and they sort of piggybacked in the back of that a little, and the Trafalgar Square shut off, and Sigourney Weaver turned into a big Queen Alien in the middle of this. Like, you know, this is before my time, but
that's amazing.
But I've seen the videos for all this stuff and the interviews that all happened. It was a big exciting time, you know. I'd always wanted to be in that show, and I went round it and I went, I'm going to be in this one day. You know, and that was always my aim, and I did it, you know, and I still bore people to death about my experiences in it, you know. Don't start me on it, but I had an absolute great time on it, and you know, there's again the legend. Then I did a show called Ghosts of Christmas, and then I did one called it's got quite a strange name. The Haunting of the Borgie Well, which was in it was. I think
that was a local ghost story or something.
Yes, it was. Yeah. It was
Did you get to appear out of a well, or?
No, but we put who's the character out what's the character with the big long hair that they throw down?
The Ring.
The Ring. We did put Samara. We did put her in a well though. Yeah. And we had quite a funny story actually. It's in a park in Cambuslang we did it in, this huge big park, and we did it with all kids and adults and stuff, and this sort of, and again this was before the Scare Scotland days, and we put this girl who had long sort of very similar to yourself, sort of long black hair, and we put in the white dress, and she was in this well, and the well's only like this big because it's all been thingied off, it's all been blocked off, so you can sort of stand in it, and this adult was going past the thing, and then she would come up and she ran into a pile of hedges and into a pond. And she wasn't happy. But that was great fun, and there's that many of them I've done now, and they're probably the best known ones.
Well, what first got you into horror? Have you always been a horror fan, or did that sort of come around later?
Yeah, I always when I was a kid, my mum watched a lot of horror movies, and we used to sit I used to sit with my mum, and we'd sit and watch all the Hammer stuff, and you know, Dracula and Frankenstein and all that stuff, and that was always me and sort of my mum's time together. You know, she loved horror movies, and I think that sort of brought that over with me. You know, I'm old enough there wasn't videos then, you know, or Betamax. You know, and we'd go down to the video shop and you'd see all these really bad horror movies, you know, but they'd really silly names, and you know, the covers were better than the films a lot of the time. You know, but you'd get them and you'd sit home, but you'd be like, then I found myself getting into the sort of horror sci-fi type. I seem to prefer that.
Totally different type of horror.
Yeah, you know, like the Thing and all that, you know, and Alien, and that's the element that seemed to attract me the most.
The effects that they managed to do in those movies are unreal and totally timeless as well.
Yes, yeah, you know, the movies like The Thing, you know, you sit and watch it now, and you go, that still stands, you know, all right, the clothes might be a bit dated, but you see those practical special effects, and you're like, wow, you know, the classic Thing scene where the guy who's doing the heart thing and the body opens up and, you know, rips his arms off, and
The bit with the head.
Yeah.
That was horrifying and still is.
And the dog bit and the changing and, you know, and it was mind blowing, and it had a great story as well. You know, and I know they did a sequel a few years ago, which
it's not bad.
but
it's more CGI.
But they actually took out the practical effects and replaced it with CGI, which was a bit sad. Shame. I don't know why. It must have been on there, but you know. And then one day I still remember the date actually, and this is probably a bit sad knowing that it was the 12th of July 1983. And I lived in Northern Ireland at the time, quite an appropriate date for Northern Ireland. And I was a kid, that's where I was brought up, Northern Ireland. And Alien was on.
Yes.
And my mum put all the lights out. And usually she wouldn't do that, right? And if we were sitting watching a Hammer movie or something, and we'd just sit there and, you know, for what they are, Hammer movies are fun, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason we're sitting there and she just put all the lights out. And I was sitting on the couch, you know, and I still remember hearing a snigger from my mum, going, oh, all right. And we watched, and I have never been so terrified in my life. It was just the claustrophobia, you know, and all that stuff, and when you see the creature itself, it really resonated with me, and it stuck with me through my life, you know, and it was always and even now, you know, I'm 47 now, and you know, and I'll still put that movie on, and it still scares me, you know, and there'll be, especially with sort of different versions in Blu-ray now and whatever, and you see things a lot clearer and things happening in the background, and you're like, oh, I missed that bit before, and then I sort of get into the sort of mythos of it, and then obviously there was the sequels that came out and sort of followed all that, and I'll get into the background and all the characters, and probably too geeky on it in my own way. Big fanatic then. Yeah, you know, I've got a tattoo, come on. And
there we go.
Wheeling Jutani, there we go, you know. And, you know, but I collect alien stuff, you know, and sort of comics and models. Don't you have
like a plasma rifle?
I have a pulse rifle, yes.
Pulse rifle, sorry, that's what I meant. I tried to remember that before I left the house.
I have an M141A pulse rifle, yes, and I wanted one for years, and they're very, very difficult to find. And I got given one as a gift. Yes. And I nearly wept when I opened the box. And and it's my pride. It's my pride and joy. No one's allowed to touch it. No. And I'll take it out at the drop of a hat and let people see it, but they don't touch it. So that's my pride and joy, and it's part of my alien collection, you know. Because it's an awesome piece of kit, and it's even got they're famous for the counter on them, and when you fire it counts down. Yes. And mine does that. You know, there is, but there's ones you can get that are older, but there's none of the original ones left that we know of. No. I believe, tell a lie, I believe there's two left, but one was broken up, and there's one in a museum or a private collector somewhere. But everything you see sort of is either copies or sort of plastic models and stuff like that. But yeah, that's my pulse rifle's my baby.
Yeah. Quite right. Would you say Alien is your all-time favourite story or horror story?
I love the Halloween movies, and I love Halloween movies. I love the character Michael Myers. Although there's loads of sequels, I know they rebooted it recently and stuff like that, and it didn't really go anywhere with some of the so some of the sequels are a bit sort of
So is it the first two you generally count, or do you count some of the later ones as well?
I like them all in their various different ways, you know. But even though the sort of sequels got weaker and weaker, I like what they try to do with the character all the time, you know, and especially the Halloween 3, where they didn't even include Michael Myers at all. You know, they went in a totally different way with it, and took it to a sort of, although it was something happening in that same world, it was in a different thing, you know, with the mass factory and all that, and I like what they tried to do with that. And then they brought the character back in the fourth one, and then they brought this cult thing in and all, and it was never really explored properly, but I just like that whole mythos of Michael Myers, and again the actors in them are incredible, you know, and it's especially the first two, very intense, and the way they're made as well. When You know, the first two were made like I think 4 or 5 years apart. You know, and then
they don't feel it at all.
no,
You
you know, and the second one picks up exactly from where the where the first one finished, and it moves, and it's seamless. You know, and John Carpenter just seems to be a genius at doing that. You know, and I mentioned the thing. That's another one of his. You know, and yeah, it's just seamless. But the character seemed to lose a bit of something, and then they rebooted it the first time with Rob Zombie.
Yes, did he do one or two?
I think he done two. I've only saw the first one, and I can't say they seem to sort of lose something for it for me. So, and I'm understanding the second one is a bit terrible, and then they've rebooted it again, but they're ignoring from 3, 4 forward, I believe.
Yes, I'm kind of keen to see it. So far I haven't, but I'm keen to see it purely because it's the original actors from the first two.
Yeah.
I do love Jamie Lee especially.
Oh yeah, she's a fantastic actress, you know, in Trading Places especially.
Yes.
And True Lies for a Certain Scene.
Oh yes, that's one of my favourite movie scenes of all time.
Well, mine too. I'm sure Harold's as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, so you don't have to startle.
Yeah, but and I really, that sort of got me first into sort of, I don't know, it was moving around, I suppose, moving around like him, Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Because I really loved it, I used to try and copy him, and my mum used to hide all the kitchen knives, you know. Hey, Stevie's doing Myers again, hide the kitchen equipment, you know. And sort of walk around like that. But I never ever owned a mask. A Michael Myers mask. I got one now, but
yes, I was going to say, I'm sure you would by now.
She wouldn't get me one. And but then I got into the sort of the sort of Halloween movies.
Yes.
You know, the Jason Voorhees stuff, and although the first two are good, but the rest of them are just popcorn.
Yes.
You know, they're various levels of terrible.
Yes.
You know, but the character's always good. You know, and they've got various different actors who play them, and you know, and they always bring something different to it, and you know, so I started sort of trying to copy that a little bit, and that taught me sort of movement, and then at a performance level, I got involved in musical theatre for a while, and I just couldn't dance.
Because I find that really hard to picture. I'm trying to picture you dancing, and
yeah, well,
obviously
you don't want to see it. I used to get stuck at the back, and right, Stevie, you can't dance. You go as far back to the stage as you can. I can sing a bit, but yeah, about far back as I can get, and you know, and you'd hear my feet go clumping around. So I enjoyed musical theatre, but I just needed to get away from it. So I went back to my sort of.
Would you do it for musical horror though?
Yeah, in a minute, you know. Of course, I'll watch anything with Bruce Campbell in it as well.
Of course. So obviously, I mean, you've got Evil Dead musical. You know, I'd love to watch that.
Well, we Scare Scotland did try to get the licence for that last year, and they wouldn't give it to us.
Oh no.
No, they don't.
So as well as the slashers, what kind of horror stories are you big on?
I like a good ghost story. Things like The Others and stuff like that. You know, something with, you know, there's spoilers here. You know, but the twist at the end of that, in terms of the other ghosts and you know, that sort of thing.
So
I like
the suspense and the build
yeah,
up.
aye, and I seem to like because ghost stories that are in old buildings and stuff. You know, and especially old abandoned buildings. You know, because I used to be do urban exploring. You know, I used to go into old buildings and photograph them.
Yeah.
And one of my favourite movies is with a nice Scottish actor in it, Peter Mullen, called Session 9. And it's basically based in an old closed down asylum, and these guys go in to remove the asbestos.
Yes.
So they can turn it into houses, and and sort of strange things all start happening. And
Well,
again,
haunted asylums give me the heebie-jeebies.
well, there's one not far from here.
Yeah?
Well, it's knocked down now, which I've explored on quite a few occasions.
So did you have to like sneak in at night or?
No, once or twice I did actually, but less said about that the better. But I actually spent a weekend in it once, lived in it for a weekend.
Did you see anything?
Like I did.
Well, out of places you visited then, what do you think was felt the most haunted, do you think, out of the places you've been to?
that's a hard question. There's probably a couple of places. There's one place I'm actually not allowed to mention, believe it or not.
Oh, right.
Because of the owners of it don't like it. It's actually a place in Ayrshire. There's a place in the Lothians called Yester Castle, and I actually took a pile of Scare Scotland people to it once who wanted to feel something really freaky, and I went, right, Yester Castle it was, and then we went out there, and they will never return. And Yester Castle, I'll not say any more than that. I just suggest you Google it if you want to find it. But that is the freakiest place I've ever been.
Do you prefer doing like a ghost tour, or do you prefer getting to go all by yourself?
No, I used to go out with some friends, and this is before the Scare Scotland days, and before Most Haunted, I must add. That show just annoys me. But me and some pals, we formed this group called Alba Paranormal Investigation, and for like 6-7 years we went around investigating all sort of spooky places all over Scotland. And it was again. I bring a lot of what happened in these places into the Scare Scotland stuff, you know, especially we're doing ghosty stuff. Because again, it was about atmosphere and what you feel. A lot of these things when we do scare stuff with Scare Scotland, it's not about what you see, it's what you make people feel. And I brought that from there over, you know. Yeah, we did that for a while, and eventually it just the most haunted TV show started, and then everybody else, all these other teams, and it popped up everywhere, and it became very monetized and more entertainment. Well, I was really into it. I mean, there's something that I've been sort of into ghosts and paranormal stuff since I was a lad. I used to sit in the library for hours reading books on it, you know, and where I lived in Northern Ireland was a place called Antrim, and there was loads of old buildings around everywhere, and I used to jump into them when I was a boy, and lots of strange things used to happen in them and stuff that as a lad you would just not be able to explain it, you know, and you just sort of run, oh, you know. Then as I got a little bit older, sort of got a bit more serious about it, and yeah, it was an interesting time. I think the old Facebook page might still be there actually, but it became just a business. And if you want to go on a ghost hunt, they'll charge you £50 now. And we never ever done that, and we never used to get charged to get into venues and stuff. And you know, we did a lot of firsts actually. We were the first paranormal group ever to investigate the secret bunker in St Andrews.
I've been there.
Yeah, well, we were the first group ever to do it. The Scottish Mining Museum, we were the first people ever to do there as well. And that was fascinating. And they took us into places there that weren't open to the public.
I take it a lot of the old tunnels will still be there.
Yeah, well, we never got into them, you know, they're not allowed into them.
No, because some of them are really dangerous.
Yeah, but they took us, they let us stand in the top of the old mine head and stuff, and I was actually standing there, and there was these these bits of wood over it, and one of the women who were the tour guide with us that night, she went, yeah, that's the mine head just down there, and I'm standing on this plank of wood, and I was alright. And she went, just right underneath you there's about 425 feet. Okay. So we did there, and we went everywhere. Sorn Castle. No one, they didn't let us in there. The owner of that, I didn't word that right. The owner of that had never let anyone in there before, and for some reason we ended up in there, and she just gave us the run of the place. New Lanark. I don't know if you know, New Lanark's a sort of a big, huge, it's a community in Lanark that was built, and it was, you know, it created the co-op movement and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And well, it's notorious down there for sort of hauntings and stuff, and I was given the keys to the place. Only bit I wasn't allowed in was a shop, because obviously it was privately owned, but they went, yeah, here, on you go. Threw the keys at me and gave me the alarm codes. And
I suppose you don't know if you don't ask, so you asked and you got.
I was pleasantly surprised. I thought, because they must get asked a lot now, but nobody had ever done one down there before. We were the first ones to do there. A lot of strange things happened there. Not bad things, but nice things, because New Lanark was a nice place. It was one of the sort of first places in that era where they educated their workers and cared about the workers.
Was it not to do with working in the mills and stuff?
Yeah, they worked in the mills. There was a man called Robert Owen.
Aye, they wanted to make sure they had a fair wage and somewhere to live.
Fair wage, somewhere to live. Kids were educated. You had medical assistance and all that sort of stuff. And what came from that was the Cooperative Movement.
Yes.
And it sort of grew arms and legs and became worldwide. It all started in New Lanark. But for many, many years, the mills were all derelict and whatever. I mean, you go down now, it's all done up and it's amazing. It's a living museum now, and there's hotels and whatever. If you go and visit it, I'm not being paid by New Lanark to say this. Even out with that, it's well worth to go and visit to see how people lived and how they sort of what we've got now. As far as sort of factories and being looked after and health and safety, it all began there. You know, because you'd probably heard the stories about Victorian times, kids crawling around under these things. And
I grew up in a town where there was a mill, so there was so many stories.
Yeah,
I used to live in a house that was the GP's surgery back in the day when the mill was still open. And I remember hearing all these stories at school about how my house was going to be haunted because of all the kids that lost limbs and all that.
Well, that's true. All that's true about kids losing fingers and things, and you know, and it was very common. But Robert Owen made sure that the kids, although they still worked in the mills, so they were only there a couple of hours a day, and they were at school in the morning, and you know, and they seemed like a good man, you know. But there was always stories about the place, and you know, and so I just emailed them one day, bring my wee guys down to have a wee nosy around for spooks, and yeah, come down and see us, and when can you make it? There's the keys. Let us know how you get on. Okay. And see, we spent 8-9 hours down there doing all that, going into various buildings and doing what you call vigils. Yeah, but that was an interesting thing. And aye, I mean, it's not something I talk about too much now, because it was in the past, and you know, when you see the way the sort of ghost hunting scene is, if you like,
it's become very campy.
Yes, it's a business now, and without sort of, I mean, if people want to do it, it's fine. But personally, it's full of thrill seekers, and so the thrill seeker side of me goes into the Scare Scotland thing, because you can come into that and you can get a thrill. But the sort of paranormal stuff is not. And if I was just a member of the public walking up to a ghost team and going, right, take me into that spooky place, there's 40 quid, or 50 quid or whatever, and I'm going to spend the night with you. I want to see something, I want it entertained.
Yep.
You know, so there's maybe, not saying they fake it, but there's a pressure there to make these guys who have sold these places for something to happen. So the temptation to fake something is incredible. You know, which is my problem with the Most Haunted TV show when it started. You know, there's loads of these ghost programs now. There's literally hundreds of them. And when that was, oh yes, we're actually going to get a decent show about this. And when it first came on, it was boring. Yes. Because they were, to be fair to them,
they were looking for genuine things.
They were genuinely having a go, you know. And then it's like watching paint dry, you know. And so they were forced to fake it. Yep. And they've been caught thousands. They don't make any secret of it. They fake it now, you know.
Now they put up that thing saying this is for like entertainment.
Yes, that's the get out, you know. That's the get out, because a lot of people were being annoyed by that because they were claiming it was true. You know, I actually met a cameraman once who worked on it in Blackpool, and he said they were told to throw stuff in front of the camera and all that. Yes,
like roll the ball across the floor.
Yeah, and they were told to do all that. And don't get me wrong, it's fun, and as long as you sit and watch these shows and take them for what they are, just entertainment, and you get a wee bit of a spook out of it, you know, that's fine, but just remember it's not real, you know, and no matter how much they claim it is, it's not. Yeah. Because a TV company isn't going to buy something in a TV show where nothing happens. Although they got away with it with Big Brother for years, but
I don't know how, it's not really my type of thing, so.
Well, they did a thing, Dead Set, you remember that?
No.
Where they turned the Big Brother house getting attacked by zombies.
Oh yes, I forgot all about that. Yeah, like didn't Davina get turned into a zombie?
Yes, and it was written by a man who just recently did Bandersnatch, and it's pretty awesome actually. You know, and it was nice to see how, you know, this zombie apocalypse is happening round about it, while all these people are living in this house not knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they get in and they think it's a challenge, and they're like, oh, and they go, oh, hold on a minute here, what's Davina dressed like that for? Wallop, you know, that was actually very well done. You know, but the paranormal stuff, you know, I would be everywhere for that. Christ, we travelled all over Scotland. You know, and it's not as exciting as it sounds, because we did many a night sitting in an old, roofless old castle, you know, sitting with a jacket on, we're sitting like this, waiting for something to happen with a Mars bar and a cup of soup. Going, is there anybody there? You know, and you're going, you know, most haunted make it look great, and you're sitting going, you know, go need to do something.
I suppose you desensitise yourself quite a bit to the fear factor.
Well, you just get pissed off because nothing's happening. You know, but you just get annoyed. Why am I doing this? But when it does happen,
yes,
then you're like, that's why I did this.
Yep,
you
doing
know,
this for a reason.
A few years of that, and it kept me out of trouble for a while.
Right, I think that's about all we've got time for today, Stevie. So
No.
why don't you give us a wee word on how maybe some performers can get in touch with you should they want to be part of Scare Scotland, or how someone can hire you for part of their project?
That's very easy. If we're always looking for new talent, people to join up. So if you don't need any performance experience, because we'll train you. Doesn't cost you anything either. If you've got a unique talent or something you think you can offer, bring it to us. We'll have a talk. It's very easy. Just go into the Facebook, search Scare Scotland, and we'll pop up and send us a message, and someone will get back to you. And or there's our website, which is www.scarescotland.co.uk, and just look for us on Twitter under the same name, Scare Scotland. I don't think we're using Instagram yet, but I think we'll get there. But you'll find us all on social media somewhere. If there's a company looking for us, through the same way, Scare Scotland Facebook, Scare Scotland website, or you can email us through that. You can get me at stevie@scarescotland.co.uk if you want to talk to me directly. You know, and that includes makeup artists, actors, performers, anything. If you think you've got something to offer, talk to us. We can't guarantee that we'll get you loads and loads of work, but you'll have a lot of fun, I can guarantee you that.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming on the show today.
No, thanks for asking me, I really appreciate it.
No, it's been great. And yeah, we'll post the links below if you want to get in touch with Stevie or want someone else in the Scare Scotland team, or if you want to be part of the madness that is Scare Scotland.
It is.
Check out the links below.